Dr. Elena Rodriguez pressed her ear closer to the communication console, her dark eyes narrowing as she listened to the strange sounds coming through her headphones. The deep space research vessel UNS Discovery had been traveling through empty space for 3 months, but this was the first time she had heard anything quite like this. "Computer, play back the signal again," she said softly, her fingers dancing across the control panel. The sounds filled her small laboratory once more, a series of mathematical beeps and electronic pulses that seemed to follow some kind of pattern. Elena had spent 15 years studying alien languages that did not exist yet. Her job was to figure out how humans might talk to other intelligent life forms if they ever found any. Most people thought her work was pointless since no one had ever found aliens before. But Elena believed they were out there somewhere, and she wanted to be ready. The signal played again, and Elena felt her heart beat faster. This was not random space noise. This was definitely a message from someone, and that someone was not human. She grabbed her tablet and ran down the metal hallways of the Discovery, her boots clanging on the floor plates. The ship was not very big, and it only took her 2 minutes to reach the bridge where Captain Jake Morrison was reviewing supply reports. "Captain, you need to hear this," Elena said, slightly out of breath. Jake looked up from his paperwork. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes who had been flying ships in deep space for 20 years. "Dr. Rodriguez, if this is about another one of your theoretical alien contact scenarios, I really don't have time right now." "No, sir, this is real. I picked up a signal about an hour ago. It's not coming from Earth, and it's not coming from any human ship or station." Elena held up her tablet. "Listen to this." She played the recording, and Jake's expression changed from mild annoyance to serious attention. The strange mathematical sounds filled the bridge, and other crew members stopped what they were doing to listen. "Where did this come from?" Jake asked. "The signal is very weak, but I think it's coming from the Kepler 442 system. That's about 8 light years from here." Elena pulled up a star chart on her tablet. "Captain, I've been analyzing this for the past hour. The mathematical patterns are too complex to be natural. Someone built a machine to send this message." Commander Lisa Park, the ship's tactical officer, walked over to them. She was a serious woman who always followed military rules exactly. "Dr. Rodriguez, space is full of strange signals. Pulsars send out regular signals all the time, so do other natural phenomena." "This is different," Elena insisted. "Look at this." She showed them a graph on her tablet. "The signal has quantum encryption embedded in it. Nature doesn't create quantum encryption. Only intelligent beings do that." Jake studied the graph, even though he did not understand most of what he was looking at. "Can you decode it?" "I'm trying, but it's very difficult. The mathematics are unlike anything I've ever seen. But Captain, there's something else." Elena's voice became more excited. "Hidden in the signal, I found coordinates. Specific coordinates pointing to a location in the Kepler 442 system." "Coordinates for what?" Lisa asked. "I don't know yet, but someone sent this message, and they want whoever receives it to come to those coordinates. Captain, this could be first contact with an alien species." Jake was quiet for a long moment. The Discovery was not a military ship. It was a research vessel designed to study empty space and collect scientific data. Making contact with alien life forms was far beyond their mission parameters. "We should report this to Earth Command," Lisa said. "They can send a proper first contact team with the right equipment and training." "That will take months," Elena argued. "The signal is very weak and getting weaker. By the time a team gets here from Earth, whatever is sending this message might be gone." Jake walked over to the main view screen, which showed the stars ahead of them. "Dr. Rodriguez, are you absolutely certain this is an alien signal?" "As certain as I can be without actually meeting the aliens who sent it." "And you think they want us to come to these coordinates?" "Yes, sir. The mathematical pattern suggests urgency, like a distress call." Jake thought about his orders from Earth Command. The Discovery was supposed to spend 6 more months mapping this region of space, then return home. Changing course to investigate an unknown signal would violate his orders completely. But if Elena was right, and this really was first contact with alien life, then following orders might mean missing the most important moment in human history. "Lisa, what's your opinion?" Jake asked his tactical officer. "Sir, it could be a trap. We know nothing about whoever sent this signal. They could be hostile." Lisa crossed her arms. "Our weapons are designed for asteroid clearing, not combat. If this is some kind of alien military force, we would be completely defenseless." "But it's a distress call," Alina said. "They're asking for help." "You think it's a distress call," Lisa corrected. "You could be wrong about what the signal means." Jake looked at both women, then at the other crew members who had gathered on the bridge to listen. They all looked at him expectantly, waiting for his decision. Alina played the signal one more time. The strange electronic sound seemed almost sad to Jake, like someone crying out in the darkness hoping someone would hear them. "How long would it take us to reach these coordinates?" he asked. Alina checked her calculations. "About 18 days at maximum speed. And our supplies? We have enough food and fuel for 4 months, Lisa answered. Jake made his decision. "Change course for the Kepler 442 system. We're going to investigate this signal." Lisa looked surprised. "Captain, this violates our mission orders." "Sometimes you have to break a few rules to do the right thing," Jake said. "If someone out there needs help, we're going to try to help them." Alina smiled broadly. "Thank you, Captain. I think we're about to make history." As the Discovery changed course toward the unknown, none of them realized that the signal had never been intended for human ears, and that they were about to attempt the most impossible rescue mission in the history of space travel. 18 days later, the UNS Discovery dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, staring at the main view screen in complete amazement. "My God," he whispered. In front of them was the largest artificial structure any human had ever seen. The space station was bigger than Earth's moon, made of materials that seemed to shift and glow with their own internal light. It orbited dangerously close to a dying star that pulsed red and orange, throwing off massive solar flares. "Captain, I'm reading millions of life signs aboard that station," reported Lisa Park from her console. Her voice was tense with excitement and fear. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked frantically at the communication station, trying to make sense of the readings. "The energy patterns are incredible. This isn't like any technology we understand." The entire station seems to be powered by the star itself. Chief Engineer Ben Carter joined them on the bridge, his face pale as he looked at his scanner readings. "Captain, that star is dying much faster than it should be. According to my calculations, it's going to collapse within the next few days, maybe hours." "What does that mean for the station?" Jake asked. "It means everyone on board is going to die unless they can get away from here very soon." Alina suddenly looked up from her console with wide eyes. "Captain, I'm getting a response to our communication attempts, but it's not like anything I expected." "Put it on the main speakers," Jake ordered. Instead of voices or even electronic sounds, the bridge was filled with something that felt like music mixed with mathematics. The sounds seemed to flow directly into their minds, creating images and emotions that human brains were not designed to process. "Turn it off," Lisa said quickly, holding her head. "It's giving me a headache." Alina kept listening, even though her nose started to bleed from the mental strain. "Wait, I think I'm starting to understand something. They're not using sound to communicate. They're using pure thought patterns." "That's impossible," Ben said. "So is a space station the size of a moon, but there it is." Alina wiped the blood from her nose. "Captain, I think these aliens exist as some kind of energy beings. They don't have physical bodies like we do." Jake tried to process this information. "Are you saying we're talking to ghosts?" "Not ghosts, more like living electricity. They exist somewhere between matter and energy." Alina worked at her console, trying to adjust the communication systems. "That's why their technology is so different from ours. We build things with metal and computers. They build things with controlled energy and directed thought." The strange music-like sounds continued to fill the bridge, and slowly Alina began to recognize patterns in them. After an hour of careful listening and analysis, she managed to create a basic translation program. "I think I've made contact with one of their leaders," she announced. "The closest translation of their name would be Zara Prime." "Can you ask them what they need?" Jake asked. Alina typed commands into her console, and the computer attempted to translate human speech into the alien's thought pattern language. The response came back as a flood of emotions: desperation, hope, confusion, and something that felt like surprise. "They're asking how we received their distress call," Alina translated. "Apparently, they've been sending messages for decades to their allied species across the galaxy, but no one has answered." "Why haven't their allies responded?" Lisa asked. Alina listened to the response, her expression growing more concerned. "Their allies can't help them. The other energy-based species are too far away, and the matter-based species they know don't have technology advanced enough to help with this kind of problem." "What kind of problem exactly?" Jake asked. "Their star is dying much faster than they predicted. They have technology that should let them move to a new star system, but it's broken. They need massive amounts of energy to power their evacuation systems, but the dying star is producing the wrong kind of energy." Ben studied his engineering readouts. "Captain, I'm looking at their station, and I can see the problem. Their technology is designed to work with stable stellar energy, but this star is putting out chaotic, unstable energy because it's collapsing. It's like trying to run a computer on lightning strikes." Alina continued to translate the conversation with Zara Prime. "Confused about why we're here. Our technology is so primitive compared to theirs that they can't understand how we even survived the trip through space." "Primitive," Lisa said, sounding offended. "To them, we're like cavemen with stone tools trying to help nuclear scientists," Alina explained. "They appreciate that we want to help, but they don't see how we possibly could." Jake looked at the massive station on the view screen, then at his small crew. The Discovery was a research ship with basic equipment. These aliens had technology that seemed like magic, but they were still going to die. "Ask them to explain exactly what they need," he ordered. Alina worked for several minutes, translating complex technical concepts between completely different types of technology. Finally, she looked up with a grim expression. "Captain, they need someone to collect and purify stellar energy from their dying star, then convert it into a form their evacuation systems can use. The process requires flying directly into the star's corona and using specialized equipment to capture and process solar plasma." "Can we do that?" Jake asked. Ben laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Captain, what they're describing would require technology we won't have for another 1,000 years. Our shields can't handle that kind of radiation. Our energy collectors are designed for normal space operations, not flying through the outer layers of a star." "So we can't help them," Lisa said. Alina listened to more communications from Zara Prime, tears forming in her eyes. "They're thanking us for trying. They say no species has ever attempted to help them before, even though we can't actually do anything useful." Jake stared at the doomed space station and thought about the millions of intelligent beings who were about to die. They had traveled across the galaxy to answer a call for help, only to discover that the help needed was impossible for humans to provide. "Dr. Rodriguez, tell them we're not giving up yet," he said firmly. "Captain," Alina looked surprised. "Tell them that humans have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way. We may not have their advanced technology, but we have something else." "What's that?" Ben asked. Jake smiled grimly. "We have human stubbornness. And sometimes that's enough to find solutions that shouldn't exist." Captain Jake Morrison called an emergency meeting in the Discovery's main conference room. The entire crew of 12 people gathered around the metal table, their faces showing a mixture of excitement and worry. "We all know the situation," Jake began. "We have millions of alien beings who are going to die in the next few days unless we can help them. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours, but it's broken. The question is, can we find a way to save them?" Dr. Alina Rodriguez spread out her research notes on the table. "I've been talking with Zara Prime for the past 6 hours. I think I understand their problem better now. They need to transfer their consciousness, their minds, away from the dying star, but they can't do it with the chaotic energy their star is producing." Chief Engineer Ben Carter shook his head. "Dr. Rodriguez, with respect, we're talking about energy beings who live inside stars. We're humans who need spacesuits to go outside our ship. How can we possibly help them?" "What if we think about this differently?" Alina suggested. What if instead of trying to fix their technology, we help them in a completely different way? What do you mean? Asked Kate Sullivan, the ship's computer programmer. Zara Prime explained that their people exist as organized energy patterns. They're like living computer programs made of pure thought. What if we could temporarily store some of their consciousness in our computer systems while we figure out a permanent solution? Dr. Ryan Brooks, the ship's medical officer, looked confused. You want to download alien minds into our computers? It sounds crazy, but it might work, Alina said. Our computers can't handle their advanced technology, but they might be able to store basic consciousness patterns for a short time. Ben pulled out his engineering tablet and started running calculations. Dr. Rodriguez, our computer systems are designed for human thought patterns. Alien consciousness might be completely incompatible. We could destroy their minds trying to transfer them. Or we could save them, Alina replied. It's better than letting them all die. Kate studied her own tablet, reviewing the Discovery's computer specifications. If we're going to try this, we'd need to completely rewrite our computer operating systems, and we'd need much more storage space than we currently have. Can it be done? Jake asked. Kate was quiet for a long moment. Maybe, but it would take days of non-stop work, and I'd need help from everyone who knows anything about computers. What about the energy transfer process? Jake asked Ben. Could our ship survive flying close enough to their station to make the connection? Ben ran more calculations. Our shields could probably handle it for a short time. But Captain, if this goes wrong, we could lose the ship and everyone on board. Lisa Park, who had been quiet during most of the discussion, finally spoke up. Captain, I need to point out that we're talking about risking 12 human lives to save aliens we've never met before. That's not a decision we should make lightly. Jake looked around the table at his crew. I want everyone to vote. We're either all in this together or we're not doing it at all in favor of attempting the rescue. One by one, every person at the table raised their hand. All right then, Jake said. Let's get to work. For the next 2 days, the Discovery became a hive of activity. Kate worked 18-hour shifts rewriting computer code, trying to create programs that could handle alien thought patterns. Ben modified the ship's power systems to handle the massive energy requirements of consciousness transfer. Alina spent every waking moment talking with Zara Prime, learning more about how their species thought and existed. The conversations were mentally exhausting, often leaving her with severe headaches and nosebleeds. Their minds don't work like ours, she explained to the others during a brief break. We think in words and images. They think in pure mathematics and energy patterns. It's like trying to translate music into colors. Dr. Brooks monitored Alina's health as she pushed her brain to its limits trying to understand alien psychology. Dr. Rodriguez, you need to rest. These mental connections are putting dangerous strain on your nervous system. I'll rest when we save them, Alina replied, returning to her work. On the 3rd day, they were ready to attempt the first consciousness transfer. Jake positioned the Discovery as close as possible to the alien station while keeping their shields operational. Beginning transfer attempt, Kate announced from her computer station. Alina established mental contact with a volunteer Viridian, a young individual whose consciousness pattern seemed simpler than the others. Starting now, she said. The ship's computers immediately began screaming alarms as alien thought patterns flooded into systems never designed to handle them. Kate's fingers flew over her controls, trying to contain the alien consciousness before it crashed their entire computer network. I'm losing him, Kate shouted over the alarms. The patterns are too complex for our systems. Alina felt the young Viridian's consciousness scattering across incompatible computer systems, breaking apart like water hitting hot oil. Through her mental link, she experienced the alien's terror and confusion as its mind dissolved into chaos. Shut it down, Jake ordered. Kate terminated the connection, but it was too late. The young Viridian was gone, its consciousness destroyed by the failed transfer attempt. Alina collapsed at her station, blood streaming from her nose. Through her connection with Zara Prime, she felt the leader's grief and the growing despair of the other Viridians who had witnessed the failure. I killed him, Alina whispered. I destroyed his mind. Dr. Brooks helped her to the medical bay while the rest of the crew tried to repair the damaged computer systems. The first attempt had failed catastrophically, and they had accidentally committed what amounted to alien murder. Jake stared out at the massive alien station, knowing that millions of beings inside were losing hope. His crew had risked everything to help, and they had only made things worse. "Captain," Kate called from her station, "I think I know what went wrong." Jake turned to her with desperate hope. "What?" "We were trying to force alien thought patterns into human-computer architecture. But what if we don't try to understand their thoughts? What if we focus on something both species share?" "What would that be?" Ben asked. Kate smiled for the first time in days. "Emotions. Fear, hope, love, determination, those are mathematical patterns that might be similar across different species." Alina, despite her exhaustion and guilt, looked up from the medical bed. "Kate might be right. When I talk with Zara Prime, the emotions translate much easier than the complex thoughts." "So we use emotions as a bridge between our technology and theirs?" Jake asked. "Exactly," Kate said. "Instead of trying to store their entire consciousness, we store the emotional patterns that hold their thoughts together. It's like storing the framework instead of the whole building." Alina struggled to sit up. "Let me try again. I think I understand now." "Absolutely not," Dr. Brooks said firmly. "One more attempt like that could kill you." "Then millions of aliens will die instead," Alina replied. "I'm willing to take that risk." Jake looked at his crew exhausted, scared, but still determined to help beings they had never seen. "All right," he said. "Let's try it again." The second consciousness transfer attempt worked. Kate's idea about using emotions as a bridge between human and alien technology proved successful. Within 6 hours, they had safely transferred nearly 1,000 Veridian minds into the Discovery's expanded computer systems. But success brought new problems. Dr. Alina Rodriguez sat in the medical bay with ice packs on her head, her brain aching from the constant mental connections with alien consciousness. Dr. Ryan Brooks checked her vital signs for the 10th time that day. "Your brain activity is off the charts," he said worriedly. "You're pushing human mental capacity beyond safe limits." "How many more can our computers hold?" Alina asked, ignoring his concern. Kate Sullivan looked up from her workstation, exhaustion clear on her face. "Maybe 10,000 more if we strip out every non-essential system on the ship. But Alina, there are millions of beings on that station. We can't save them all this way." Captain Jake Morrison studied the readings from the dying star on the main view screen. The red giant was pulsing more violently now, throwing off massive solar flares that reached toward the alien station. "How much time do we have left?" Chief Engineer Ben Carter checked his calculations. "The star will go supernova in less than 18 hours. When that happens, everything within 1,000,000 kilometers will be vaporized instantly." Alina forced herself to stand up despite her headache. "Then we need a different plan. We can't transfer all of them to our computers, so we need to fix their evacuation systems." "With what?" Ben asked. "Their technology requires energy we can't produce and materials we don't have." Alina walked carefully to the communication station and established contact with Zara Prime again. The mental connection felt like lightning in her brain, but she pushed through the pain. "Ask them exactly what their evacuation systems need," Jake ordered. Alina translated the conversation, her nose bleeding again from the mental strain. "They need massive amounts of pure stellar energy to power their migration systems. The energy has to be collected from the star's corona and purified before they can use it." "The corona?" Ben said in shock. "That's the outer atmosphere of the star. The temperature there is over 1,000,000 degrees. Our shields would melt in seconds." "What if we don't rely on our shields?" Jake asked quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. "Captain," Lisa Park asked, "what if we think like humans instead of trying to think like advanced aliens?" Jake continued. "Their solution needs to be elegant and sophisticated. Our solution just needs to work." Ben stared at his captain. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we do what humans do best. We improvise." Jake walked to the main view screen and pointed at the dying star. "We fly shuttles directly into that star's corona and collect the energy manually." "That's suicide," Lisa said flatly. "Maybe, but it's the only option we have left." Jake turned to his crew. Ben, can you modify our industrial fabricators to build energy collection equipment? Ben thought for a moment. I could rig up some magnetic bottles using spare parts from the engine room. They wouldn't be pretty, but they might hold stellar plasma long enough to transfer it. What about radiation protection? Dr. Brooks asked. We don't have any that would work in a star's corona, Ben admitted. Anyone who flies those shuttles is going to be exposed to lethal radiation levels. How lethal? Jake asked. Dead in minutes, maybe less. Alina looked up from her communication station. Captain, I've explained your plan to Zara Prime. They think you're insane. They say no intelligent species would risk their lives for strangers like this. Then they don't know humans very well, Jake replied. Lisa, I need you to calculate flight paths that will get our shuttles in and out of the corona as quickly as possible. Captain, I can't let you do this, Lisa protested. It's my job to keep this crew safe. It's my job to make the hard decisions, Jake replied. And I've decided we're going to try. For the next 6 hours, the crew worked frantically to prepare for the most dangerous mission in human history. Ben and his engineering team built crude but functional energy collection devices using spare reactor parts and magnetic field generators. Kate programmed the shuttle computers to handle the extreme conditions they would encounter. Pilot Amy Chen volunteered to fly the first shuttle mission. She was a small woman with steady hands and 20 years of experience flying in dangerous conditions. I've flown through asteroid fields and solar storms, she told Jake. But I've never tried to fly through a star before. None of us have, Jake replied. That's what makes us human. Dr. Brooks prepared radiation treatment drugs that might keep the shuttle pilots alive long enough to complete their missions. These won't stop the radiation damage, he warned. They'll just slow it down. How long will we have? Amy asked. Maybe an hour before the radiation damage becomes fatal, maybe less. Amy nodded grimly. Then I better work fast. Alina continued to serve as translator between the human crew and the Viridian consciousness, even though each mental connection was slowly destroying her brain. She could feel her human thoughts beginning to merge with alien patterns, making it harder to remember who she was. Alina, you need to stop, Dr. Brooks urged. Your brain scans show dangerous changes in neural activity. I can't stop now, she replied. The Viridians need to understand what we're trying to do so they can be ready to receive the energy we collect. What if you don't survive this? Jake asked gently. Alina smiled despite the pain in her head. Then at least I'll have helped save millions of lives. That seems like a fair trade. The first shuttle launched 2 hours before the star was scheduled to go supernova. Amy Chen piloted the small craft directly toward the dying star, her shuttle loaded with Ben's improvised energy collection equipment. Entering the corona now, Amy reported over the radio, her voice calm despite flying into temperatures that should have been instantly fatal. Radiation levels are climbing fast, Dr. Brooks reported from the medical station. Amy's already absorbed enough radiation to kill most people. I'm okay so far, Amy's voice crackled through the static. Beginning energy collection now. On the main view screen, they could see Amy's shuttle disappearing into the bright corona of the dying star. For 10 terrifying minutes, they heard nothing but static from her radio. Then her voice came through again, weaker but determined. Collection successful, returning to base with a full load of stellar plasma. When Amy's shuttle returned to the Discovery, Ben quickly transferred the collected energy to the Viridian station using a direct power beam. The aliens confirmed that the energy was exactly what they needed, but Amy collapsed the moment she stepped out of her shuttle. Dr. Brooks rushed her to the medical bay. She's absorbed fatal levels of radiation, but she's still alive. The radiation medicine is working better than I expected. How many more trips do we need? Jake asked Ben. At least 20 more shuttle loads to power their full evacuation. Jake looked at his crew. They had proven that humans could survive flying through a star's corona, but barely. They needed 19 more people willing to risk certain death to save alien lives. Who's next? He asked. Every person on the bridge raised their hand. For the next 12 hours, the crew of the Discovery performed the impossible. One by one, they flew shuttles into the corona of a dying star, collecting the energy needed to save millions of alien lives. Ben Carter went second, his engineering expertise helping him collect twice as much energy as Amy Chen had managed. He returned unconscious and bleeding from radiation poisoning, but alive. Kate Sullivan went third, using her programming skills to improve the energy collection process. Dr. Ryan Brooks went fourth, followed by Lisa Park, who had finally decided that saving lives was more important than following safety protocols. Each crew member absorbed massive amounts of radiation. Each returned to the Discovery barely alive, but each brought back precious stellar energy that powered more Veridian evacuation systems. Dr. Elena Rodriguez continued to serve as the bridge between human and alien consciousness, even though the constant mental connections were destroying her brain. She could no longer remember what her life had been like before meeting the Veridians. Their thoughts and emotions had become part of her own mind. "Elena, you have to stop," Dr. Brooks begged her during a brief break between shuttle missions. "Your brain scans show that you're losing human neural patterns. You're becoming something else." "I know," Elena replied calmly, "but the Veridians still need me to coordinate the energy transfers. I can't abandon them now." Captain Jake Morrison piloted the final shuttle mission himself. By this time, the star was beginning its final collapse. Solar flares larger than planets erupted from its surface, and the space around it was filled with deadly radiation. "Captain, the star is going supernova," Ben reported weakly from his medical bed. "You have maybe 20 minutes before the explosion." Jake flew his shuttle deeper into the corona than anyone had gone before. The energy readings were incredible, enough power to light up entire solar systems. But the radiation levels were beyond anything human technology was designed to handle. "Jake, get out of there," Elena said through the communication system, her voice strange and distant. "The star is collapsing faster than we calculated." "Almost finished," Jake replied, fighting to stay conscious as radiation burned through his body. "Just a few more minutes." The final energy transfer was successful. The Veridians had enough power to evacuate their entire population to a distant star system, but Jake's shuttle was too damaged to return to the Discovery. "Captain, your engines are failing," Lisa reported from the bridge. "You're trapped in the corona." Elena made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. Using her merged human-alien consciousness, she reached out with pure mental energy and guided Jake's damaged shuttle back to safety. The effort left her permanently changed, no longer fully human, but not entirely Veridian either. As the Discovery limped away from the dying star system, they watched the Veridian evacuation begin. Streams of pure energy flowed away from the massive space station, carrying millions of alien minds to safety among distant stars. Zara Prime sent one final message through Elena's transformed consciousness. The humans answered a call that was never meant for them. They risked everything to save strangers they could not understand. This act of impossible kindness will be remembered across the galaxy. The star went supernova 3 hours later, destroying everything within 1,000,000 kilometers. But the Veridians were safe, traveling through space toward their new home. The Discovery's journey back to Earth took 6 months. During that time, the crew slowly recovered from their radiation exposure, though all of them would carry the scars for the rest of their lives. Elena's condition stabilized somewhere between human and alien consciousness. She could think like both species, but would never be fully either one again. When they finally reached Earth, Captain Morrison faced an angry tribunal from Earth Command. Admiral Sarah Johnson, the head of the Deep Space Division, demanded explanations for their unauthorized first contact mission. "Captain Morrison, you violated direct orders, engaged with unknown aliens, and risked the lives of your entire crew," Admiral Johnson said sternly. "How do you justify these actions?" Jake, still weak from radiation treatment, stood at attention. "Admiral, we received a distress call from dying people. We answered it. That's what humans do." "Those weren't people, Captain. They were aliens. They were intelligent beings who needed help," Jake replied firmly. "In my opinion, that makes them people." The tribunal spent weeks reviewing the Discovery's mission logs and the evidence of first contact with an energy-based alien species. Finally, Admiral Johnson delivered their verdict. "Captain Morrison, Your actions were reckless, dangerous, and completely against regulations, she began. Then she smiled. They were also the bravest and most humanitarian actions in the history of space exploration. You and your crew are hereby commended for making first contact and saving millions of alien lives. Alina established Earth's first department of alien psychology, using her unique dual consciousness to help humanity prepare for future contact with other species. The knowledge the Viridians had shared led to breakthrough advances in energy technology, space travel, and consciousness studies. But the most important result was not technological. Word of the rescue spread across the galaxy through the network of energy-based species. Other alien civilizations began reaching out to humanity, curious about the strange beings who had answered a call for help that was never meant for them. 5 years later, Alina received a message from Zara Prime. The Viridians had successfully established their new civilization around a stable star. They had also created a monument to the humans who saved them, a structure of pure energy that told the story of 12 people who risked everything for strangers. Jake, now Admiral of Earth's first alien contact fleet, often looked up at the stars and remembered that desperate day when they had flown shuttles into a dying star. The Viridians had been right about one thing: no intelligent species should have been willing to make such sacrifices for unknown aliens. But the Viridians had been wrong about something else. Humans were not like other intelligent species. They had a strange habit of answering calls for help, even when those calls were not intended for them. Alina smiled as she read Zara Prime's message. The galaxy was full of distress signals and cries for help. Some were meant for specific species with the right technology and resources to respond, but humans had proven they would answer them all anyway. The universe was becoming a little less lonely, one impossible rescue at a time. And it had all started with a signal that was never meant for human ears, answered by people who refused to let strangers die when they might be able to help. That, Alina thought, was the most human thing of all.